Welcome to the Raider Power Mailbag. It's the first one of the new era, I guess you could say. This is at the behest of many of you subscribers. So I appreciate all the questions. I'm going to try and get to all of them. But if I didn't, I'll try and get you next week. So let's start off with a couple of you asked about the new quarterbacks. Obviously, I'm assuming that y'all know a lot about Mahomes. So I'm going to talk about the four walk-on quarterbacks. First, let's start with Mason McClendon. He's 5'11", 180 from Midland Christian. The guy threw for over 4,000 yards and almost 60 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. So that's pretty amazing right there. I don't know about the level of his competition. Obviously, that's private school, but those are pretty good numbers. Tanner Tausch, I actually covered him in high school. He was a good leader. Didn't really put up big numbers, but they didn't ask him to. They were a defensive team. They had Zach Sanchez starting OU corner on defense. So he also played wide receiver for them there at Keller Central. And so he had a great weapon to throw to. But he was more of a manager kind of guy. He's been at Kilgore College. He put up over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions in 6 games last year. So not overly impressive, but his film looks better than that. He's 6'2", 190, so his size is okay, not great. Then you have Mike Richardson. Now this guy, Marble Falls. Obviously, y'all know about Todd Dodge. I covered Todd Dodge when he was at South Lake Carroll and UNT. He put up some good numbers. He had that record night of over 700 passing yards, but he was out of football this past fall. So, obviously he was sitting around for a reason. But also, obviously, Coach Kingsbury sees something in him, so maybe he can develop. And then the latest is Payne Solons from Waco Riker. The guy threw for almost 3,000 yards the last 2 years. He also ran for around 700 yards this year. Pretty good size at 6'3", so the guy could be a player. All these guys, though, Tapadaka, 54th Street asked about the quarterbacks, but Tapadaka wanted me to go a little more in depth, as it usually does, and just kind of break down if any of them have a shot at playing time. And the answer is you really hope that they don't. I mean, obviously Baker Mayfield did what he did last year as a freshman walk-on, but as Tech fans, you don't want any of these 4 guys to just come in and play. You want Davis Webb and Patrick Mahomes to be your 2 guys. All right, next question. Red Raiders want to know about Jamarcus Howard. I've already answered that, but I'll go ahead and say he's gone. I talked with him a little bit today, Thursday, and he didn't want to go into detail. There's also a story by the Louisville scout site. He didn't go into detail there either. He's being classy, and he's been a classy guy the whole time I've talked with him and dealt with him. But he's visiting Louisville. Tech is, not in the picture for him anymore. And I asked him a couple times when he doesn't want to go into it, so I don't think he's going to. All right. Next question. How much easier will it be to recruit linebackers next year with the extra beef up front? That's from Jay Plains. How much easier? Well, from what I've heard from some of the recruits, both 2014 and 2015, and then Coach Wally himself and some of the other coaches, they had a plan. It wasn't in 2014 that they weren't, or they didn't have success recruiting linebackers, but it's they got their guy, the main guy they really wanted, Dakota Allen. They beat out Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, some other schools for him. They got that guy. They had a pretty big class, 2013. Some guys who redshirted, and they're also considering Connor Wilson a Raider. That's really what they're expecting his role to be, is to be that guy. And they're actually have a higher opinion on Connor Wilson than I have. I think he could be a good player, but they're expecting him maybe to play pretty soon. So they consider they have 2 linebackers there in this class, 2014 class. Now what I've heard is, and this could always change, but the plan is in 2015 to go after 2 inside linebackers and maybe 3, but definitely sign 2. And then the same thing on the outside, 2 or 3 outside. And then, they get a bigger DB a la Connor Wilson, maybe, another Raider. So look for 3 to 5. I mean, depending on how it breaks down and what happens with the roster between here and a year from now. But look for them to sign 3 to 5 linebackers in 2015. So it should be a really good linebacker class. And I don't know if the big guys up front will really help that necessarily, except maybe the linebackers might look better this year when those recruits come in and visit for games. So that may have been a longer answer than you wanted there, but there it is. OBX Raider, and if I'm messing up any of y'all's pronunciations, y'all's names, and y'all can give me crap about it on the forum, on the board. Okay, OBX Raider wants to know, of the players that were redshirted last year, who am I hearing about from the coaches who's been standing out in practice? And there's 2 guys, and they're both on defense that I've heard about from a couple of the coaches. Jakarthi Mack, linebacker, and a lot about Jalen Barnes, who he's actually bulked up to around 200, and they're considering using him as a Raider in some situations, passing situations. So those are 2 guys definitely to look for this spring, and then moving forward, obviously, next fall. Syntech wants to know, how much do I interact with high school coaches, and what do they think of the staff? Well, I will tell you, since being here since October, I probably interact with high school coaches less than I have in years, because basically I got on the tech targets and got their contact numbers, and then I'd interview the coaches some. But compared to before, it's night and day. That's something that's going to change with 2015. I'm definitely going to talk more. I was playing catch-up before, but I'm going to talk more with 2015 with the high school coaches. But that being said, I have talked with some. For example, Hal Walson. Spoke with him a couple of times, South Lake Carroll's coach. And he really likes Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, obviously, Tanner Jacobson came in. It started as a walk-on freshman at safety, some for tech, and he was a South Lake Carroll star when nobody else really wanted him. He was an all-state kind of guy, and nobody else wanted him. So there's some other coaches I've heard from, and almost all of them like what Coach Kingsbury's doing, and almost all of them expect that he's going to have success like he's having, and like the way he handles his business. I've heard a couple of coaches say that he's a weird dude, which I think a lot of people would second that who've been around him, but the players love him, and that's the bottom line. Okay. TTU Fizzo wants to know about Tech's attendance potential at the Jones, kind of as part of the season ticket packages they've been pushing here just this week, and possible bigger expansion. I honestly don't have all those answers for you, but I have put in an interview request for you with Blaine Beal, and hopefully I can get some of those answers from some of the real movers and shakers in the athletic department for you. And along those same lines, From Syntex wants to know about the indoor practice facility. Same thing. This could be a part of that, those interviews and me getting that information for you. Those are good questions. Penske File wants to know about any changes expected to the defensive scheme with all these new parts. Yes, a lot of changes. Simple answer is, when you add that much depth, that much more size, and that much more speed, yes, a lot more options become available for Coach Wally, for Coach Matt Waller, defensive coordinator Matt Wallerstadt. Yes, I know he was hindered a lot, and things that we really didn't go on the record about, but things that were hindered because of the injuries, the lack of depth, and just how it snowballed down the end of the regular season. But look for a big difference in the scheme. And as a matter of fact, instead of me being a filter for it, I'm just going to play some audio from Wednesday, National Signing Day, when I talked to him, asking him that very question. So thank y'all for being here and joining me on the first mailbag. I hope to keep this going. I love the questions, And I'm going to close with Coach Wally audio.
Be wide open with a lot of our spots. I think our guys will understand that going into spring, even though guys might have been in starting roles in the fall, obviously that was fluid in the fall at the safety spot. You got J.J. Gaines. Here's a guy that was having a great season. We're watching the cut-ups right now. Was having a huge season, and then hurt his shoulder, so he'll be back in the mix. So don't forget about him. No. We think that Justice Nelson's going to be a big voice. We think that he's done some great things. He's got to continue to mature and continue to push. There's going to be competition everywhere. So I think anytime you've got competition, and we'll have competition on the front now, and we've got some competition at linebacker, that should help the cause. We get them all here and get them moving around. We just felt like on film. I mean, Marcus shows that when you watch his film extensively, you'll see him playing different techniques. Brandon Thorpe, you'll see him playing. Keelan, we think when we looked at him, he was another guy that we felt like if we needed to move to nose, if we had to play him at 3, could he play a 5? I mean, you got a lot of different combinations now. If you're getting in a big boy game where somebody's really trying to jam it at us, then you put, Thorpe, McElrath, Marcus, and Rike in there together, and then all of a sudden, what can you do? Do you stand Brandon Jackson up as an overhang and let Pete Robertson play the other overhang? I mean, there's going to be some, obviously keeping everybody healthy, but this gives us more off of our 4-down combinations. If we're in the bare front, where those nose guards get soloed up, and all of a sudden you got an active Marcus Smith, or you got a mauler like Rika that can really take advantage of one-on-one situations across the board. It's going to be fun to watch.